groovy.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Jim here with some more video game pickups, and today is an extra Pepsified episode, which the reasons why will become very apparent later. But let's get started with some new video games. Yay, my favorite day of, I was going to say the week or the month, but I'm picking up games like less frequently now, so there's not like a pickups day in any given week or month. It's just whenever the hell I can get around to it. But kicking off with some Famicom and Super Famicom games. I actually got some pretty cool stuff. This I found in a book off. I think it was about $10. And it was in really great condition for such an old game. It's Spartan X. Otherwise simply known as Kung Fu. Which, awesome, right? Kung Fu. Who doesn't like Kung Fu? I just don't understand the meaning behind the title of this game. Why would you call it Spartan X? It really has zero to do with Spartans, but there it is. I guess you can't blame Nintendo for that. I guess that's on Irem. They're the ones that developed the game and named it, presumably. But anyway, Spartan X, walk around, kick a bunch of people in the face, occasionally kick a midget, and it's pretty cool. So, yes, Kung Fu, aka Spartan X, in its lovely purple box. Happy about that. This game, I went ahead and picked up a loose cart because I've been wanting a copy for a long time, and it's a pretty pricey game these days, especially if you find it complete, but it is Crysis Force. And I had played this game some time back and instantly knew I wanted it because I'm a shooter fan. I'm a Konami shooter fan, and this is about as good of a Konami shooter or a Konami 8-bit shooter as you're going to play. It's top-down, it's 2 players, you have a couple of different weapons to choose between depending on which power-up you get. You can change the form of your ship to shoot head-on or have a tail gun or shoot off to the sides. And you can collect these little power-up things. If you collect enough of them, you transform into like a super kick-ass invincible ship with immense firepower. So it's very cool, but fun, challenging game. Really great graphics and an amazing soundtrack. I guess I had heard that this was developed specifically to try to push the hardware to its limits, and I would say it does that. The graphics are great, sound design is awesome. There is some slowdown, which is to be expected, but overall, really great, fast-paced shooter. Some of Konami's best work on the Famicom, definitely Crysis Force. Check that out. Super Famicom, picked up 3 games for it. First up, Super Puyo, and this is just the Super Famicom port of the original Puyo arcade game made by Compile. I'm not sure if this... I think this got a port to the SNES, right? But they changed it to Kirby's Avalanche or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I've never played Kirby's Avalanche, but I think that's what happened. But essentially, you know what Puyo is. It's a puzzle game. You got little squishy jelly guys that are multicolored. You link up enough, like 4 of the same color, and then they disappear, and then you drop a bunch of extra, blocks on your enemy side. Great classic puzzle series. I like it a lot. I've got Puyo games on Mega Drive and Saturn and PlayStation, I think. So I figured, hey, sure, why the hell not? Puyo for the Super Famicom. Great game. Like it a lot. Next up, I got this game called Pepsi Man. And I saw it, didn't know what the hell it was. Took a look at the back, though, and it looked like it was a pretty cool looking little platformer. I like my 16-bit platformers. Did a little research, found out this did get a US release as, I think this is called Prehistoric Man, which makes sense because you play as a caveman and it is indeed a pretty solid, straightforward 16-bit platformer. Run, jump, attack enemies, all that good stuff. Also, there are like hang glider segments, which are fun, but also a little frustrating at the same time. A little difficult to control. But P-Man, aka Prehistoric Man, yeah, I'd never heard of it before, but I was pleasantly surprised when I picked it up. A game by Kimco, who I think Kimco typically made pretty cool stuff. But anyway, P-Man, aka Prehistoric Man. Good game for the Super Famicom. If you got a Super Famicom or an SNES, check it out. You'll be pleasantly surprised, or at least I hope so. And finally, another game for the Super Famicom I've been wanting for a while. I'm trying to get this entire series. This is The Great Battle 4. And I have the Part 2 and Part 3, and those are both beat-em-ups. This one, side-scrolling action platformer, which it's awesome because you can still swap back and forth between your 4 characters, and they each have different weapons. So your Gundam has sort of like a rocket launching shotgun looking thing, and I think Ultraman has a rocket launcher mounted on his shoulder, and Kamen Rider has a flamethrower, and they all have special abilities, and just a lot of fun. Really great graphics, really great sound design, and there are boss battles where your 4 characters like link up their spaceships into sort of like a Megazord type thing, and then you go into a one-on-one fight with some other giant robot, and you can do special moves and all sorts of things. Anyway, like I said, I've been trying to collect, or I am trying to collect this entire series. I still need the first one, which I think is a top-down adventure-style game, and the 5th one, which looks really cool. It's got a very Wild Guns look to it. I've never played it, but that's what it looks like to me. At the very least, it's Chibi Gundam and Ultraman in cowboy hats. So, I mean, that you gotta play it. It's just a pretty pricey game. But so far, I like the 2 beat-em-ups, but Great Battle 4, this is definitely my favorite one in the series so far. It is a legitimately very good 2D platformer. Like I said, great gameplay, great graphics, great sound, fun boss battles, just all around. This is outstanding game. If you got a Super Famicom or an SNES, I highly recommend The Great Battle 4. It is indeed awesome, and that's it for the Famicom and Super Famicom pickups I got whenever the hell I got them. Okay, next up, I got some pretty cool pickups for the PC Engine, and one game for the Sega Dreamcast. This is Virtua Fighter 3 TB. Not Virtua Fighter Thirth, because it's written really weird. No, it's 3TB, which is Tournament Battle. But really all you need to know is it's Virtua Fighter 3. If you liked the first game, the second game, you're going to like the third game. I've never been like a huge Virtua Fighter fan. I was always more of a Tekken fan, especially after Tekken 2 and Tekken 3, and in later years, I guess Tekken 5 was like pretty much my all-time favorite. But I did always like Virtua Fighter. I can still recall being maybe 9 years old, something like that, playing Virtua Fighter 2 in an arcade and loving it. I will say that Virtua Fighter is at the very least my first experience with a 3D fighting game. I do still like the series, and I came across this in a book off, I think, and I think it was like $5 or $2 or something. And for that, I mean, you can't really pass up a first-party Sega game for the Dreamcast. So Virtua Fighter 3TB, awesome fighting game. And here we have 3 games for the PC Engine. The first game, though, not really a game, so much as kind of like a demo disc of sorts, but it is the Snatcher Pilot Disc, giving people a preview of the PC Engine version of Snatcher, which is actually titled Snatcher CD Romantic, which I think is a cool title, kind of cheesy, but really going along with the nature of Snatcher, I guess, because Snatcher in a lot of ways is kind of cheesy. There's some pretty goofy stuff in there from time to time. But the Snatcher Pilot Disc, I think really all it is like there's some interviews with people who worked on the game, and then there's some previews of the gameplay. I think there's a BGM sampler, and there's some other stuff like that. So just something that came out ahead of Snatcher. that people could pick up and, you know, take a look at it and go, wow, cool. You know, this new PC Engine game from Konami looks it looks like tits. Not like literal tits, but it looks like it's going to be pretty damn cool. And indeed, Snatcher was tits, and there are tits in Snatcher. But the pilot disc, pretty cool. Basically just picked it up to complete my PC Engine Konami collection. So the Snatcher pilot disc. Next up, was really excited when I found this game. It's Dyson Poo Custom. And this was really unexpected. I was at my local book off, which never ever has PC Engine games. And just one night I showed up and they actually had 4 PC Engine games, so I screamed like a little girl and went and picked them up. And I already had 3 of them, but I did not have Dyson Poo Custom. I do have the original Dyson Poo on the Mega Drive. This is a Toa Plan shooter, so you pretty much know what you're getting. It's a very simple, straightforward shooter. Instead of having a super bomb, you can call in a fleet of other planes that'll shoot enemies down. They all flank all around you, and they fire as you fire, and they're like shields for your plane, and when they get hit, they'll go down and do a little bit of a kamikaze dive and do some extra damage, which is very cool. But overall, just a great game. Really simple gameplay, simple graphics, good sound design though on here. This was ported by NEC Avenue, which usually they do a good job. But yeah, like I said, the original game is by Toa Plan. So if you like stuff like Truxton and Fire Shark, stuff like that, you would like Dyson Poo. It's a lot of fun, and I was very excited to pick this one up for the PC Engine, Dyson Poo Custom. Awesome. And then this last one was just check one off the list for one I've wanted. And when I showed a picture of this on my Facebook, some people were like, "Wow, I'm surprised you didn't have that already," which I was surprised too. I have the sequel. I did not have the first game though. It is Spriggin. And this is just a fantastic top-down shooter by Compile. Compile, I mean, you name it, they made it. Blazing Lasers and Musha and whatever else. Actually, people compare this game to Musha a lot because you have your mech, and some of the power-ups are very similar to Musha, but it doesn't use those P-chips to like increase your power. Instead, you have all these multicolored orbs, and you pick them up, and you can have 3 at a time, and different combinations of colors produce different effects. So you can have like a shield and fireballs, or like a bunch of like wind blades, all kinds of stuff. So lots and lots of different combinations to produce lots of different kinds of weapons. And on top of that, just, I mean, gimmicks aside, great, well-made shooter. Again, it's Compile. They made amazing shooters, there's no doubt about that. So great graphics, excellent sound design, really fun gameplay, and again, a really cool power-up system. I already had Spriggin Mark II, which is a good game in its own right, but the original Spriggin, I think I definitely prefer now that I've had a chance to play both of them. But Spriggin, PC Engine CD, amazing game. If you like shoot 'em ups and you have a PC Engine, definitely check it out. And there you go. 3 excellent PC Engine games, or 2 excellent PC Engine games, a PC Engine demo of Snatcher, and the ever so cool Virtua Fighter Thirth, and PC Engine and Dreamcast. What can you say? Okay, finally, I picked up some PlayStation 2 and PS1 games, and I got some pretty cool stuff. So we'll start with the 2 PlayStation 2 games I picked up. Actually, both of them are Sega games. First up, Space Channel 5 Part 2, which the original Space Channel 5, one of the first rhythm games that I ever played. That, along with Parappa the Rapper. And what better way to get into a genre than with Parappa the Rapper and Space Channel 5, games that just ooze style and personality. This game, still really good though, still the same basic gameplay as the original Space Channel 5, but it's a lot of fun, great graphics, really groovy soundtrack, and Space Michael Jackson. So you can't go wrong. This game has it all. Space Channel 5 Part 2 for the PlayStation 2. And another great Sega game, something I originally played on the Saturn, didn't even know they actually released this for the PS2. It's Nights into Dreams. And what's cool about this is you can play the original Sega Saturn version, or you can play a PS2 version with updated graphics. And, I mean, either way, it's a great game. But it was cool to just be able to play with some updated graphics. Also, it also reads your PS2's internal clock. So it turns into Christmas nights whenever it reaches Christmas Day. So I usually play my Saturn version on Christmas, but maybe I'll pop this one in this year and see how it goes. Plus it has bonus stuff in it, a gallery and things like that. So yeah, just a game I didn't realize got a PlayStation 2 port, but nonetheless, there it is, Nights into Dreams, PlayStation 2. And now some PS1 games, starting off with a 2D fighter. This is Gundam the Battle Master 2, which I have the original, I reviewed the original, and I featured it in a PlayStation Imports recommendation video. It's a great game. This one, more akin to just a straight up, classic style 2D fighter. You got a whole bunch of different Gundams and other kinds of mechs to choose from, special attacks, and some super attacks introduced in this game. I'm not sure if this one was ever released in the States. I know that this series eventually turns into the Gundam Battle Assault series, but I'm not sure if this was released as Battle Assault or if this is another one that was exclusive to Japan. Not 100% sure, but it is still a really good game. Perhaps better than the first one. I would say the graphics are definitely better. It's definitely a much more colorful game. Really good soundtrack. More different characters and to choose from, different characters and mechs. And again, just the inclusion of like super combos and things like that make it a more fun experience. But Gundam, the Battle Master 2, a good sequel to a game that was already really good. Next up is a game I'd been wanting to pick up for a while. It's developed by Treasure and published by Enix. This is Rakugaki Showtime. And what this is, I guess essentially you could call it like an arena combat game. You do run around in an open arena trying to defeat your enemies, but for the most part you're throwing things at them, especially this like smile ball, which when the ball hits a surface or it hits a person, it gradually goes from a smile to a frown until it lights up and starts glowing, and I guess it's enraged. But if you are the first person to pick it up and throw it at your enemies, then it like launches some kind of massive super attack that, will take out one person or multiple people or whatever. But very cool game. Like any Treasure game, I guess. It's a little gimmicky. The graphics, though, are excellent. Everything has like a hand-drawn look to it. Everything is like flat paper and colored like it's colored with crayon. So very cool graphics, very visually appealing game, cool soundtrack, extremely fun gameplay. Even some characters from some other Treasure games. I know that at least they have one or two of the characters from Troublemakers, which is very cool. So yeah, I mean, if you like Treasure games, this is one that I only learned about recently, and I wanted it immediately. Kind of an expensive game, but I found it for a reasonable enough price that I went ahead and picked it up, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. Definitely, if you're a Treasure fan, I'd recommend playing this one, Rakugaki Showtime. And now the reason we're all here, the greatest import PlayStation game of all time, inarguably. Don't argue with me on this one. It is Pepsi Man, the best import PlayStation game ever, because you play as a mascot for Pepsi, which was only ever used in Japan. He finds people who are in distress, and he runs in and gives them Pepsi, which automatically makes their lives better. The Pepsi Man commercials are just amazing. This game is essentially, you run from point A to point B, you weave back and forth, you dodge obstacles, you collect cans of Pepsi, obviously, and you get to people in distress and give them Pepsi, and then everything is better in their lives after that. It's a short game. There are only 4 different areas, and each area is comprised of 3 sections. So short, a little difficult at first when you don't know what's coming, but once you've played it enough, it's easy to run through, except for the final stage which is in the just the out of control Pepsi factory. That's a very difficult stage, especially the last bit where you have to ride on a thing like it's some kind of snowboard or something, and doors are closing. That's kind of tough. But I guess when there are only 4 levels in your game, you should make them at least a little bit challenging. What's funny is this game was originally sold for, I think it's on the Obi here. This game was originally sold brand new for 2,800 yen, because essentially it's just like a promotional thing for Pepsi. It wasn't meant to be like a full game, I guess. But since I guess like the Pepsi Man commercials had sort of popped up on YouTube and stuff, and since more people became aware of this game, I mean, it was sold brand new for, you know, under $30, and now, I mean, copies of it are being sold for like between $60 and $80. I thankfully did not have to pay $60 for this. I paid considerably less than that. And I was happy to do so because, yeah, it's a short game, but it's like weird. It's kind of an oddity, not only in the PlayStation library, but just in advertising. You know, it's Pepsi Man. It's a Japan-only Pepsi mascot who saves people by giving them Pepsi, and that's pretty cool. So anyway, Pepsi Man, inarguably the greatest import game of all time. Never mind the PlayStation. It's Pepsi Man or nothing. The choice of a new generation, people. Anyway, there you go. Those are all of my pickups that I've gotten since the last pickups video I did. I guess that was probably months ago. Like I said, I've been slowing my collecting down quite a bit, just trying to focus on picking up games that are either of great interest to me or stuff I actually want. The problem is all of the stuff that I really want is really expensive, and I'm not exactly rolling in dough these days, so I've pretty much kept it to, you know, picking up stuff like this, getting the cheap stuff whenever I can find it. Cheap and good is always what I'm looking for. Sometimes those two things don't go hand in hand, but sometimes they do. You can find good games for affordable prices. Anyway, everyone, I hope you enjoyed sitting with me, going over some of my pickups and listening to me ramble on, and definitely have yourself a Pepsi. Make Pepsi Man proud. Or, I mean, maybe if you don't drink Pepsi, maybe Pepsi Man shows up your front door, kicks the hell out of you. You never know. Anyway. Oh, I feel better already. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of some of these games, and what are some recent pickups you've made recently. Do you got anything you think I should play? I'd like to know that. Go ahead, throw all that stuff down there in the comments. Also, if you look down in the description, you can find links to my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm on all the social media stuff these days, so go and check it out. I post pictures and post things, you know, for like Q&A videos, and I do a bunch of stuff, so go check those things out. Anyway, everybody, thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting, yada yada yada, all that prerequisite stuff you have to say at the end of a YouTube video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Goodbye.